Hey everyone, it's me TDF, also known as Infinity27, and this is my playthrough of Sonic Heroes, the first game in which Sega realized, fuck it, we suck at making hardware, let's just make software from now on, and made Sonic available on more than 2 consoles. You know, PC and whatever Sega made at that point in time. Don't get me wrong, Dreamcast and Genesis were great, but whatever. This is on Team Sonic, starring Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails. And it's the first team that most people play as, unless you're a total wimp and start out as Team Rose. And this game has probably hands down the worst Sonic theme of all of them, like that you're hearing in the background, if you can hear. Which is even worse than It Doesn't Matter in Sonic Adventure 1. Yes, I went there, I hate that version. Sonic Adventure 2 is pretty good though. Yes, animated toilet paper! I hate when he calls them Sonic Heroes, it's just retarded, just call them Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, or just Sonic, what, it's just... Or else maybe call them the ambiguously gay trio, that would have been funny. But whatever, you know, we're not hip enough to do that. What are we gonna do, Sonic? Also known as, you know, probably the worst line of the game, worst acted at least. Yeah! Now what you don't realize is the plane crashing into the side of a mountain. And here is our generic, beachy level of the game that you have in every single 3D Sonic game ever, not including Sonic Adventure 2. Now, this stage, introduces the basic, like, what you basically do in the game unless you play as Team Rose, which starts out in the Sea Gate, which is like a tutorial level of sorts. But for everyone who isn't a wimp, this is a tutorial level. If you ever heard of Sonic Heroes, and I'm pretty sure you have, the basic mechanic of it, as this level is showing you, is playing as 3 different characters at the same time, because, you know, God knows, I think this is Sega's massive trolling effort. It's like people are begging, please, we want to only play as Sonic. Well, haha, here you get to play as 12 characters, and 3 at the same time. Fuck you guys. It's pretty self-explanatory. Sonic is the fast type, and also, you know, when you think about it, the most useless. Because everything can be accomplished with the other characters fine. Sonic's just fast, even if you want to get an A rank. Tails is the flight character, and can be used to reach high heights that you can't usually with the other characters. And he's also sort of like a safety net if you want to be a total wimp. Team Rose, and you want to be a total wimp when not playing Team Rose, is you can play the whole stage through with him, and that's it, literally, unless the times you're forced to play as Knuckles, but other than that, you can literally just, like for instance in Rail Canyon, or stages that you can fall off easily, if you're a wimp, you can play as Tails and fly over the whole thing. Well, not fly over it, you know, but like, you can just sort of slowly inch your way to the goal while making sure not to fall off the rails. And granted, Rail Canyon is a bitch anyway, but whatever. And lastly, we've got Knuckles, also known as probably the smallest power character, and the wimpiest, I guess, I don't know. He can smash through large things, can easily destroy enemies, etc., etc. He is also pretty useful, I guess, because you need him to break through certain objects. Like here, smash right through that. And he doesn't need any power-ups in this game. Well, yeah, you don't need any power-ups. And despite as much as... I don't know what I'm fucking doing here. Well, I mean, there, at least. Yeah. Everything in this game can pretty much be accomplished without Sonic, but if you're actually aiming for an A rank, then yeah. And actually, ironically, I should say you don't need Sonic, because this is like one of the stages that you can actually beat with only Sonic. But whatever. I don't talk about that. And there are homages. Screw it. You almost unless you're, you know, like I said, you might want to almost always play as Sonic. Even though I call him the most useless, he's probably the one you're actually going to use the most, just to get through the stage as fast as possible. Oh yes, the cannon mechanic. The cannons actually appear quite a lot in this game. Basically, the way the cannon works is that it changes depending on who your leader is. If you play as Sonic, then it'll just take you a normal route without collecting anything. If you do it as Tails, it's usually a bit slower, but you can collect items along the way. And if you play as Knuckles, which you should never ever ever go into a cannon with Knuckles, is that you manually control where the cannon fires, which can be useful in certain periods of time, I guess. But otherwise, no, not really. You don't want to play as Knuckles in a cannon, because it's so easy to kill yourself, especially if you're in an open area. Actually, in the next stage, I can show you there's this part where you can kill yourself. I don't kill myself, but whatever. Also, as you notice that the characters seem to have new moves than they did in the very beginning of the stage. This is because this game, instead of replacing power-ups, replaced them with, like, these little things. I guess they wanted to keep the whole Chaos Drive or Animal mechanic, but wanted to remove that because there's no chows in this game, unfortunately. And that's done by leveling up and getting new moves. And this is Steam Blast. It's a completely overpowered move that you can use to destroy a lot of enemies at one time. And it varies for every character. For Sonic Team, I'm pretty sure it's referred to as Sonic Overdrive. Yeah! We are so great, please pay attention to us. We're just gonna pose here, just like always. But yeah. Next day. Emblems also return in this game, except I'm pretty sure they're even less important than in the other games. They do absolutely nothing. In fact, if you beat the game with... this is not a spoiler, by the way. If you beat the game with all Chaos Emeralds, which you should do, the ending will literally say get all A rank, not even get all emblems, get all A rank. And oh my god, I can't stand this stage. I really can't. Fraps crashed so much when I was trying to record this place, it was just ridiculous. And this is probably a more Knuckles-oriented stage than anything else. And honestly, this stage is a perfect example of what I think Knuckles' gameplay should have been in Sonic Adventures 2. Just like a sort of beat-em-up, and, you know, not a beat-em-up strictly, but sort of, it relies heavily on his ability. Like, as you see here, Knuckles is probably going to be the character I use the most because of how much broken debris you have to break through. But, and it is also introduces the triangle die, which is sort of playing off Knuckles' gliding ability in the previous games. You can glide with characters, and it only makes sense with Team Sonic. If you play with any of the other teams, the gliding mechanic makes absolutely no sense. But we'll get to that when we actually play as those guys. Right. Like I was saying, this is probably what Knuckles should have been. If this game only had Knuckles, it could have just been Knuckles breaking through stuff, beating up a bunch of enemies, and I guess getting through a relatively long stage with occasional platforming. It would have worked really well, and it would have worked a lot better than, they get to me, I'm just going creep down in Pumpkin Hill, blah blah blah. Yeah, Knuckles just won't shut up about his triangle dive. Oh, one thing I failed to point out back in the initial act is that I never got how they went from a desert to a beach. I don't see that. Well, I mean, I can understand how that happens, but I don't know. It just seems very disjointed to me, which is one of my main problems with this game: how disjointed the levels feel. Oh yeah, you probably also saw back then I got a key. Basically, that key, if you keep it with you, if you don't get damaged at all, you have to avoid all enemies contact. If you get to the end of the stage with an Act 2 only, well, I mean, it's Act 1 too, but anyway. This is the place where I told you about. If you play as Knuckles here, you will die. You will fire in the incorrect area, and you will fall into the water and die, and be ashamed. Anyway, I was also saying that what the key does is that if you get the key and survive to the end of the stage with it, it'll take you to the special stage where you can pretty much race a Chaos Emerald for some reason. And if you're able to beat the Chaos Emerald in a race, we'll pretty much get ahead of it. You can collect it. But you can't get damaged at all. If you do this in an Act 1, then it will still take you to a special stage, but like much less so. You won't be able to collect the Chaos Emerald. It'll just take you to a special stage where you can milk it for 1-ups. And here I am using Team Blast again. In all honesty, Team Chaotix is the funniest Team Blast ever, but I won't, tell you guys about that yet. The levels are really only useful for Tails, because if he's level 3, then Tails' Thunder Shoot can kill enemies instantly, which is useful. For Knuckles, the levels are relatively superfluous, because all it does is make his attacks show off fire, and yeah, just be flashy. For Sonic, it makes his homing attack stronger, which I guess can be helpful in certain situations, but otherwise, ramming an enemy again and again. Also, I'm pretty sure you saw that. Yeah, I forgot to explain this too. Man, I've got so much to say about this game that I can't fit it. This is called the triangle jump, which is basically wall jumping, except with Sonic. And you can jump in triangle formation. Ooh. Well, this game seems to have a lot of things with triangles, I guess, but 3 on sides. Oh my god, this part, I hate this part. This is the part that made me hate the stage with both Sonic and Team Dark. Look, just watch. LOL rock! I mean, I know running away from chasing objects is like in every Sonic game. In Sonic Adventure 1, it's in Lost World, in Sonic Adventure 2, it's with the truck. But this game, oh my god. It's even worse than in those games, because in this one you can actually get hit. Like, it's much harder. I mean, I don't get hit, and it's not that hard, since it's only the second stage, but it is much harder than the other two. Especially with Team Dark. Not to mention the fact that you can get hit in midair at times, and then fall into the abyss below. Not to mention it's totally uncalled for, because at least in the other games you could predict it happening, like in Sonic Adventure 2 it has a bunch of warning posters everywhere. I guess Gunn wanted to make sure that Sonic got the message, we're gonna try to turn you into roadkill. Other than that, I fucking hate those rocks so much. Especially with Team Dark. I remember them being faster with Team Dark, but it's been a while. Second emblem. And here you go, this is what the special stages basically look like. They're relatively boring, really. It just becomes a button masher and make sure you collect as many orbs as possible. Here, you'll see in a second. Once it loads. The PC version, which is the one I'm recording, loads much longer than the other two versions, to be honest. Basically, it just collects orbs. That gauge up there shows how much energy you have. Mash the B button or the Z button, or no, X button on the keyboard if you're using PC version, and try to beat the Chaos Emerald in a race. Not beat it, but just get ahead of it, and you'll collect it. Just like that. I got carpal tunnel after how hard I had to mash X just to do that. I mean, I know it's the first one, so it's easy, but still, it's incredibly... mash, mash, mash. You also get 1-ups, but like I said, you can get even more 1-ups if you do it in the first act. And here's one thing. This boss will show you something that I thought was always pretty surprising, at least for me, is that Sonic Adventure 2 actually had better graphics than Sonic Heroes. I mean, look at Eggman, he looks ridiculous. And I always hated Sonic's model in this game anyway. Dak, Egg Hawk. I want to hack this game and turn it green and name it Jet the Egg Hawk or something like that. I like Jet. But I guess it's not really if I like Jet, then I'm trying to destroy a robot incarnation. I don't know. Anyway, all I know is that this thing in multiplayer mode pretty much spits out rings in a ring collecting challenge. It also reappears in a later boss, Egg Albatross, as like a sort of... Oh shit, I shouldn't spoil that. Well, it's not much of a spoiler anyway, screw that. And this basically just mash the button, try not to miss. Anyway, he comes back and does later boss, but like much harder because he doesn't stop like he does in this game. No explosions even. Durr. Look at that lazy animation. Oomph. You're graded solely on time in this stage.
Ready for the junk pile.
Yeah! See you guys in part 2.